Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back on VCTV, Venture Capital TV from LATOKEN. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the host and moderator of the show. And I'm very excited to be hosting this show and the panel today to discuss about health tech investments in remote medical services. I'm also the regional director of LATOKEN based in Singapore. So that's my introduction. I'm very excited to introduce the speakers of the panel today. Let's just have a quick round of applause. Ta-ta. Hi. Hi, Vandana. Hi, Karthik. I feel like, I'm just it's a reunion, like family, like a VCTV family reunion. Gary is back. Karthik, Vandana, Dr. Shrikant. So yeah, so that's why you can feel that excitement in me. So hi, welcome back on VCTV. How are you all?
Great.
We're doing
We're
good.
doing good. Thank you so
Rocking.
much.
Fantastic. Okay, Karthik, how are you? You've been away for a long time. How
Yeah,
are
I've been
things?
away for a while. I was busy with a few things. It's been almost a couple of weeks since I last came on your show. And to quickly introduce myself, Karthik Bhatt from Middle East, representing a large retail business as well as a couple of family offices and venture fund. And sector agnostic, trying to do a few things in whatever little time that I have. Pleasure being on the show once again. 137th show, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow, that's a good number. And welcome back.
Thank you.
Next, I have Dr. Shrikant. Welcome back.
Hi, I hope the audio settings are quite good, but even if they are not, I'm really sorry about that. I am Dr. Shrikant. Welcome back to the family. I was in the family yesterday, so it's a great reunion. Only 24 hours after the yesterday's reunion that we had. So that being said, I act as a legal counsel for the Forbes 500 in India, and apparently the Forbes 500 has expanded its list with a lot of new inductees in its list in India, which I'm not privy to. So possibly I'll give you a perspective from a health point of view, which we have been tracking for the past 1 year. Pleasure to be here. Back to you, Sunny.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And finally, the voice is very clear. Thank you. Vandana, welcome back. How are you today?
Thank you, Sunny. First of all, I would like to thank the entire team of LATOKEN and, especially all of you to create this show. It takes a lot of efforts to get all the speakers, from a global platform. And coming to introduce myself, I had my own family office in Singapore and Jakarta. I worked as an investment banker and advisor to family offices and angel investors in Jakarta, Indonesia, helping startups from diverse background, from fintech, B2B tech, all the way to consumer startups. I was raising funds for them and providing them with a range of services, just as Convanto does today. After 15 years of staying in Singapore and Jakarta, I came back to India. I did investments for a bit and returned to advisory. That is when Convanto was founded. Today, Convanto is one of the most well-known boutique investment banks in India, led by a female founder. And I'm also a venture advisor with Loyal VC, the INSEAD-led Canadian VC fund, having a core portfolio of over 160 investments in more than 35 countries. And I'm also a partner with GST Venture Studios, a Silicon Valley-based venture builder. Over the years, I've arranged funding for startups and growth stage companies in diverse sectors like edutech, fintech, consumer B2C, B2B, agri-tech, health tech, food tech, disruptive and deep tech, as well as non-tech sectors. I would recommend all of you to have a look at my website and do have a look at the wonderful testimonials written by my clients. This month, I'm nominated as the top 10 women leaders in wealth management 2021, and my expert opinion is often sought in leading business news channels and publications like Business World and VCTV. All these talks which I've given are about 155 talks all over the world, and they can be seen on YouTube or VCTV streaming sites. And I'm connected with 300 plus investors globally. We are sector agnostic. and we typically do $1 million to $25 million. And once again, thank you for having me here.
Wow, 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 wow. Vandana, I don't have any words. Congratulations. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Vandana,
Last but not
congratulations. You've been doing some amazing work, and I've been following your work. I must say, I'm very proud of your efforts, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
awesome, awesome. Great job, Vandana. Last but not least, Gary.
Hi. So my name is Gary Fowler. Great to see my friends here today. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've been involved in 17 startups, 2 unicorns, original management team of Click Software, sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion. Also, Eva.ai. Have recently had some companies sell. So we've had some exits, and also we've raised some funds for startups recently out of Africa. Love artificial intelligence and quantum computing because AI is a new electricity and quantum's a turbocharger. I write a lot. My last article in Forbes this week is on tokenization and the next level of social media. And my next article is about how to replicate uh, people, loved ones. So we're using artificial intelligence so you never lose them, using their voice and using the AI to capture the essence of their personality so they'll stay with you forever. And so that's my next article that I'm writing about. Um, you know, I've written 160 articles and just have started to focus on other kinds of challenging problems we have, like remote health tech and remote medical services.
Oh, Gary, you amaze me all the time. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and now tokenization.
Oh,
I'm
I
going
have
to
to tell you, I have an actress, a famous actress, is now my co-host, Zen Sams, who's going to be with me on VCTV on the Founders Report. She's actually a radio host in New York City. She's on the Protocol. She's up and coming, Megan Fox looking actress, but a big time actress. Anyhow, she's on my show. I think next week, actually.
Oh my God, I'm so
Yeah.
excited. I want to see her. I want to
And
see
she's,
Gary in her.
we have a show together on iHeartRadio in New York City. I'm the co-host of Digital Week on iHeart in New York City now every Saturday night.
That's on VCTV, right, Gary?
Well, VCTV is where she's coming on, but she and I have our own radio show in New York City now.
Okay, I'm going to watch both of them. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We are done with the introductions, a background of the speakers, so we understand where they come from. And like Gary said, he works in, obviously, he has startups in health tech space as well. And Karthik, we know, represents family offices, investor in health tech. And obviously, Vandana has portfolio companies who are in the space. And Dr. Shrikant also contributes a lot in the space. Uh, it's about investments in remote medical services that we're going to discuss. I'm going to start with Karthik. Karthik, so how big is this remote healthcare market, and how this market has grown since the lockdown in 2020?
So it's grown significantly. Last 18 months has seen a quantum change in the way the healthcare business has been. And considering that we are a very keen investor in the healthcare space, we have seen a shift in the dynamics from locational specialized healthcare and being a surgical procedure which is limited to certain geographies. Now, the entire healthcare industry is moving towards remote medical, and be it in diagnostics, be it support, be it as postnatal or post-operative care, or even telemedicine. Businesses have grown. Telemedicine as an industry, specifically cyber health and telehealth in Middle East and Africa, used to contribute just about 0.5% to 1% of healthcare spends, has now gone to almost 9.5 to 10%, with 18 to 19 insurance operators in the region legalizing slash covering it as a part of their coverage, as a part of their insurance coverage. And more importantly, there's a lot of investments coming in the bandwidth, in telehealth capabilities, in cyber health services, making it far more democratized, far more accessible. Diagnostics is still becoming, and diagnostic remote imaging, robotics, and surgical procedures through data, through online platforms is a challenge. But telehealth is where we see a lot of traction coming in the next few years.
Great telehealth. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kartik. Dr. Shrikant. Okay, sorry. Dr. Shrikant? So, same question. How big is the remote healthcare market and, I mean, growth? You can talk about India perspective.
No, I could talk about the global perspective as well. I mean,
Sure.
I talk about in the India perspective because I've seen a bit of India, so that's the reason why I give India perspective. But health is something that we have been following even before the COVID hit us, right? Health has been a sector, or med tech has been a sector that has been interesting. And if you see the investments that have happened in India, I mean, globally. India would actually top the list if you see, because we have had a slew of acquisitions that have happened in the medtech space, especially the last mile delivery of medicine as such. If you ask me where medtech starts and where medtech ends, the medtech starts at the research phase. So we have not seen investments in the research space at the moment. What we have seen is investments happening at the last mile, which is the delivery of manufactured drugs and so on and so forth, on medicine and so on and so forth. So, allied services is insurance, of course, right? Medicine comes with insurance. I think even the insurance space has grown phenomenally globally. And in India, we've had new insurance players, which was quite unique because globally, if you see, you will not find a single new addition to the insurance business after COVID. In India, we've had a new insurance player in COVID. I don't want to name that particular insurance player. So the point I'm trying to make over here is India is a burgeoning market, and we have got. Yesterday, I made this particular point. It's a 1.3 billion people market, and it's becoming like China, where we have got a bulk of it sitting in middle class, and they can afford certain med tech, and they want accessible med tech. So in that particular regard, I think startups which can solve the solution. I mean, which can solve the problem of me having let's assume a need for a sugar control tablet, and I need it in the next 2 hours, I don't have to go to the nearest pharmacy. I don't have to step out. So, it should be delivered to me. So that is something that interests, I think, at the moment. And of course, the video conferencing or the video checkups that have happened. I mean, I've visited a doctor, what, 2 years back. Um, so,
Oh,
so the doctor visited me twice. So I'm going to make a paradoxical statement. I did not visit the doctor for the past 2 years. The doctor has been visiting me for the past 2 years, and that too, she or he has been visiting me over the phone. So I just show, the lesion or the scratch marks and so on and so forth, and whatever my son has, and it gets resolved. So, insofar as minor diseases or minor instances are concerned, I think telemedicine has basically evolved at a larger degree. Insofar as larger procedures, for example, if you ask me, I have a block in my heart and I need to get operated. Can I do it at home? No, of course not. So maybe I envisage a future where we can do it at home as well.
wow, that will be. Oh, I don't know how that would be, but thank you for sharing those insights. Gary, over to you next.
Yes. So, I mean, if we look at the market from a global perspective, right, it's this year or in 2020, it was about 6.1 billion, expected to grow from 2021 to 2028 at 17%. So it's a huge market opportunity. And at the same time, think about this, Sonny. The virtual health platforms, that are out there today. And again, with the increases we have here in Florida of the Delta virus, so hospitals are packed solid again. They witnessed 1,000% increase in visits due to the pandemic. And at the same time, if you look at telehealth was growing pre-pandemic, there was about a 4,000% increase before 2020, from 2019 to 2020. So this is on the U.S. side. So we're seeing this increase, and at the same time, think about this. We've got, we have a company that is dealing with elderly, and to be able to look at the elderly population and to be able to understand how to remotely monitor them. The company's called Zemply. Think about the aging population and the cost that it costs in the U.S. to go into a nursing home. I know with my father, it's $14,000 at the time a month to put my dad in a nursing home out of pocket every
Right.
month. So having these remote services for elderly to be able to monitor them using artificial intelligence to understand what kind of movements, not with the video, but movements. These are some of the technologies. It's not just about the pandemic. In many parts of the West, we've got these elderly populations. For instance, I was in California, my father was in Pennsylvania, and we had to set up his house. I set it up completely, about $90,000 in setting up his house so we could monitor it. We could understand what was happening to him. Why? Because of quality of care. If you're living at home, you live longer, right? It's called the end well. So I see this as really another trend. It's not just about the pandemic, but the pandemic has really digitized and digitally transformed us to allow us to be able to do it more. Because pre-pandemic, oh, I don't think we should do it. How can you get the quality of care? The doctor has to touch you. But now it's changing. So we're going to start to see devices, Internet of Thing devices, that start to tie in, that start to use artificial intelligence, that start to become these intelligent assistant that'll go back to the doctor and have the doctor be able to monitor us better real time.
Great. Thank you so much, Gary, for those insights. Moving on, I have Vandana next.
Yeah, so telemedicine or telehealth has been around for several years, but the pandemic has propelled telemedicine services into being the leading vehicle for remote healthcare. And the healthcare industry accounts for less than 1% of the overall healthcare industry in India, implying a huge market opportunity for health tech. In the past 2 years, there has been a significant growth in this segment, and it's been a good signal of the thesis we all have, which is that we live at an extraordinary time in terms of innovations in biopharma and innovations in the application of technology to healthcare. And it is also one of the very, very competitive markets as at this moment. And currently, what we are seeing in this market is so many businesses doing well, like Practo, which is a telemedicine portal, e-pharmacies like 1mg, Farm Easy. Then there are fitness apps and wellness startups like CureFit, and many other remote medical services like healthcare IT, and which has a lot of analytics, home healthcare, personal health management, which are being used by people nowadays. And from an investment basis, if we can improve the that reliability, we should be looking for these opportunities and investing in them. It will make better medicines, it will drive better clinical trials, and it is good for the healthcare systems. Now, one such company that I am working with, it is a SaaS-based model with healthcare providers that is combined with the mapping of insurance providers, strategic partnerships, and in-house technology that will allow us to gain leadership and differentiation position in the market. And they are significantly disrupting the concept of connected care by facilitating the real-time digital communication between patients and providers, including in-person consultations, telehealth, and secure electronic communications between clinics and their patients. And this platform enables active aging for people aged 60 and above, and it has been founded by a group of entrepreneurs and experts in aged care in its leadership team. This company also enables active aging through offerings that are subscription based and aim to address the clinic and social needs of elders at the comfort of their homes. In addition to it, it also provides a high-end bespoke assisted living and memory care facilities, especially in dementia, in case of elder needs, specialized assistance, and daily living due to age-related disorders.
So it's only catering to people 60 years and above.
Yeah, it's for elderly care. So they
Okay.
have these
Yeah. So,
assistants.
so what stage? What stage is there? Is a growth stage, start early stage, or
No, they are they are a revenue making company.
revenue making?
Then,
Okay.
yeah, they're already a revenue making company.
Oh, that's interesting. Like one platform serving the purpose, like
Yeah,
bringing in insurance, insurers, and doctors, pharmacies as well.
pharmacies, everything at the press of a button. Like it's like even they have buttons all over their around their homes. At the press of the button, the messages will go everywhere. They'll get emergency help, whatever they need. So that time will be saved, and I think they also get a personal assistance over there that checks on them every day, what they ate, or what is the difficulty that they face today with the maid, etc. Especially for old people who are staying alone. And this
Right.
is one of its kind that has been created in India. I'm very closely working with them. I'm doing this especially because it's for elderly care. Then, there is other technology company that has come up from Singapore that is removing the chemotherapy from the treatment of cancer and curing cancer. So that I'm working also with. So, these kinds of technologies that are coming up will really help us improvise a lot. And somewhere we need to thank the pandemic that has come in, which has helped us, move and pushed us and create all these digitalized platforms for healthcare, especially.
Thank you so much, Vandana. I mean, sharing those two startup stories as well.
Yeah,
Um,
hey, Sonny, I want to say something. I had this experience recently. Stanford University is one of the top hospitals in the world. So Stanford Hospital top. And I was out there. I had a procedure done a few weeks ago when I was out in California, and it was amazing to me. Here's a place where you could spend $500,000 for a 5-day stay. That kind of a place. It's that expensive. Anyhow, it was amazing to me that one of the things I found is after talking to the chief of surgery. So this is a world-renowned physician, and I had a procedure, and I actually got to him because I know the president of Stanford. Anyhow, he came in, and one of the things I understood is that you need to have an advocate in the healthcare system. You need somebody that can go across specialties, somebody that can help you, and they don't exist, right? They're not. The person that does it is a family member. I saw it when my father had his stroke, and I became the advocate and intervened and got his care and got hired nurses to come to the house, etc. But we need to have, when I talk about these intelligent assistants to help in this whole remote medical services environment, you need to have somebody that cares about you and gives you the data. I saw it directly at Stanford University between the folks in surgery and the folks in gastro. They actually weren't communicating, and if I wouldn't have stepped in, I had to wait 3 days, going on my fourth day, to get a procedure done at a place that can cost $30 to $100,000 a day. I mean, it's really expensive there at that place. So we've got to really relook at this entire healthcare system, and a remote medical service is one part, but we have to at the same time collaborate again, because we got to tie the specialties together. And one of the things that I'm looking at right now is that type of an intelligent assistant. I'm actually starting to scope it out and write about it myself because I think it's critically important. It is in the States, and I know in other countries it's the same. They're so busy they can't talk to one another.
wow. Great. Thank you so much, Gary, for sharing that. So basically, if I understand the factors who are driving the remote healthcare market, one is the pandemic, obviously. Second is that there was always a problem. There was always a problem in the society, which was not obviously addressed, as Gary rightly said, with his father's sort of incident that happened. What are other factors that has led to this, sort of space, this remote healthcare space, get that much needed attention? Karthik, would you like to take that?
Purely some purely a demand supply logic. I mean, for example, look at NHS. And I serve on a panel at NHS says from your perspective. NHS is overloaded. They will
We
operate
can't
in
hear you clearly, Karthik.
Can
It's
you hear
a
me now? So NHS in London was
Yeah.
operating at a 227, 228% capacity during the last 6 months. They had to necessarily drill down their, improve their efficiencies by moving in unnecessary, or rather, I would say, non-emergency care back to private as well as to remote locations. And they had to have intervention coming in from France, intervention coming in from Italy, and intervention from Greek, which is the medical authorities of EU, to take over certain healthcare requirements on a remote basis. Today, DHA from UAE, which has excess capacity built in because of the kind of coverage that it has and the mandatory requirements by the government here, is able to offer remote medical services to Sudan, Mozambique, and Botswana with as low as $1.50 per consultation. When you look at $1.50 per consultation, you're talking about just about 6 dirhams. It on an average costs us 75 to 80 dirhams for a consultation here, without medical coverage, without insurance coverage, and with very limited medical facilities available in certain parts of the world. This works as a definitive boon for all your non-emergency slash your non-surgical procedures, which is what we call as all your non-OT procedures, considering the kind of cost and spends that you require. Typically, globally, we're used to seeing a 1 is to 12,000 medical practitioners. I mean, one medical practitioners for 12,000 human beings. Certain parts of Africa that's getting covered is one at 180, one at 190,000 human beings. Now, for them, a medical service coming in at such a low cost with pharmacy attached and with online medical delivery attached necessarily works as a boon. We've incubated a couple of startups in this space, but there are challenges around regulatory protocols. There are
Yeah.
challenges around ground support, operationalizing it at the ground in terms of last mile on therapeutic, last mile on diagnostics, last mile on palliative care necessarily becomes a challenge. But then I think it's still easier than creating a medical fraternity in a geography. And medical fraternity in a geography, like a developed geography, is possible, but creating a multi-speciality medical fraternity in a smaller geography or remote geography is definitely a challenge. And now with advances that Saudi Germans doing, as well as in collaboration with Boston Memorial, or even would necessarily allow or make it possible for laparoscopic robotic surgeries as well, to ensure that primary surgical procedures like appendix or even gallbladder surgeries can be done on a remote basis through laparoscopic robots. So it doesn't even require a full surgical team on ground. Now it would reduce tremendous pressure on healthcare ecosystems of certain geographies. So I
Yeah.
see growth being driven by purely a demand supply, make versus buy, and availability of resource basis. Support coming in from government necessarily is the key driver behind it.
Thank you so much for explaining that with use cases coming from all those emerging markets as well, Karthik. Next, I have Dr. Shrikant.
No, I mean, I think when we talk about remote procedures, as Karthik mentioned, I think it's quite complicated because the cost of consultant, which was phenomenally high earlier, has come down to 1/10 of what it was earlier. So I think if I were a doctor, if I were a student studying medicine, this would not be the right time to actually start a consulting practice. I would be paid a pittance. So that being said, but I would be busy, around the clock. So this is what I have. I have invested personally, Sunny, in a in a particular startup, which basically offers round the clock services, emergency care and so on and so forth. So they will accompany you to a facility if needed be. You want to go to a NHS, you will have a doctor with you going to the NHS. So you'll have the comfort of having a second opinion right next to you when you're having the first opinion. So it's a paradoxical, again making a paradoxical statement. It's a second opinion which is being obtained even before the first opinion is being obtained, right? So insofar as that is concerned, I think that's an investment that I've made personally, which is about $1 million or so. So what I'm trying to say over here is that is more accessible. Like Karthik very rightly messaged in the chat, and he pointed out orally as well. That I think accessible health is what we are looking at the moment. We should be looking at Stanford consulting in India at really uh, accessible cost. So a middle class or a poor man or a woman from India should, or a child from India should be having the second opinion from Stanford and from whatnot. So from that particular perspective, I think the area, the domain is wide open. What had prevented doctors from doing this earlier was basically the physical touch that they wanted. They wanted to see and touch a particular patient and sense out what the patient basically is thinking about. I think from that particular, from a consultation perspective, I think there is a lot of transformation that has happened, which Vandana very rightly pointed out. I think from a procedural perspective, what has happened is, I think bringing home, imagine a situation, hypothetical but not improbable situation. Imagine having a surgery room in my whatever 300 square feet or 400 square feet that I have over here, a moving surgical unit, and I can get the procedure done then and there.
Yeah.
I could be and I don't have to go outside my home at all. So that is what I think the future is.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, again, the demand is there, as rightly mentioned by Karthik and all of you. And the stats from NHS, I was obviously, when I was living in the UK, I used to visit NHS. I haven't been to NHS. It's been like over 10, I don't know how many years, I don't remember, but it's good to know that they revamped the entire healthcare sort of facilities. So, okay, let's talk about future. So, what do you think are the biggest trends to look out for in the digital healthcare industry this time next year? Given that hypothetically, we're likely, I think, not hypothetically, I'm very sort of optimistic as well. Likely towards the end of this year or beginning of next year, because obviously I think London is opening up for events. Dubai is all open. India is opening up as well. There are always going to be new waves of this virus, but we have to move on. So more workers return to office, everyone resuming activities that they did before the pandemic. So what do you think? Do you think this remote healthcare, like the telemedicine, is it still going to be something which is very appealing to the investors, to invest the startups in the space? Do you think still going to be there, that popular right now, that it is right now? Who is going to take this? Gary, you're
So,
talking?
I mean, the situation, Sonny, this virus, right, that we say is down, I can tell you here with Delta and what Lambda here in the States is really ticked up, and we're going back to where the way it was before. A lot of the challenges that we had a year ago have started to come back. So, um, and the hospitals are packed full again. In Central Florida, they're packed. So I think that part of the if we look at what's going to happen in the future, a year from now, we're going to see that a lot of what we've learned, the lessons learned through COVID, are great lessons through this digital transformation to be able to democratize, as Srikant said, to democratize the opportunity around the world. And it's not just around the world. I mean, we have the same challenges in the US. So if you're in Arkansas, getting somebody from Stanford to talk to you is an entirely different situation, or Florida or Rhode Island. So it's really democratizing. But I see the trends as collaboration, which is what I mentioned earlier. They need to collaborate a lot more. There needs to be a lot more artificial intelligence added to the system to help surgeries that Kartik had talked about, things like remote surgical procedures like laparoscopic. They're going to start to be more of a trend. you're going to start to see these systems do these surgeries on their own, right? You're going to be laid down, and then these systems are going to start to operate. So what is that? That opens a whole lot of opportunities for us, and a whole lot of questions too. So I see that trend continuing, collaboration. I see the, we're not out of the woods yet. And by the way, this is only one of many viruses that are out there that could impact the world. This is not the worst one either, by the way. So what we have to do is we have to understand that as we democratize and more equalize the opportunity, it's going to really push for all kinds of demand. Why aren't there, there are great doctors in India at a low cost, a lower cost? Why not have those doctors who are the same doctors that are in the hospitals here be able to use their services, right, to keep the costs down? We're going to start to see those kind of things happen more and more and more as this world through the digital transformation shrinks.
Thank you so much, Gary. So, Vandana, what about your insights? Like, what's a future looks like this time next year? Still telemedicine going to be very popular as per you?
So, I'll repeat what I had said in my few talks as well. When demonetization had hit us in India, people didn't know how to use digital payments. The vegetable vendor, the milkman, all these people who needed to be educated to use these platforms. Now, because they were forced to use, even the taxi drivers, everybody, apologies, everybody is using this digital payments because eventually they understood the importance of it. Now, when the pandemic hit us, these virtual platforms, Zoom, AirMeet, StreamYard, MS Teams, everybody got forced to get on these platforms. As a result of which, many people learned this new technology. Now, when it comes to telemedicine, people are not used to it. They've not experienced it. And over the years, when they get used to it, eventually they like it more than anything else. So it's just a matter of, being proactive and progressive, like I always say. And also due to the pandemic, people don't really rush to the doctor now. They look up things, initially I had friends who had simple headache, they were rushing to the doctor. Simple things, they were rushing to the doctor. Now they think a few times before they go to the doctor because they can easily Google the information, or and just figure it out. Maybe it's just today has been an anxious day, why the body is not responding well, or the mind has not been fit today, hence the body is reacting to it. So I think these things, slowly, when the education is imparted to everybody that, look, telemedicine is going to be the thing. The virus has not gone, even though the vaccinations are there. Everything is there, but it's still going to be there. There's going to be a third wave. There's going to be a fourth wave. Everything is unpredictable. So then what? So I think it's better to adapt to new technologies and get used to the telemedicine thing. Of course, heavy things like surgeries and other things still need to be taken care of, but small, flus and stomach aches, etc., can be taken care of over telemedicine. I think that's what I feel.
Yeah, so basically, I just want to share my experience. Like, I think last year this time, I had to see a doctor. When I went to the clinic, there was this, that lady in the front desk, receptionist. She says that, okay, we do not have a physical doctor here, but the doctor is available to talk to you via this computer, like, she has.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not going to wait here. I'm not going to do that, take that service. I'd rather go to another clinic where I see a doctor, right? So that was me. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
that's personally me. And I went to another clinic nearby where there was a doctor. I queued up, I waited. I got my health checked, my blood pressure and everything, whatever checks, basic checks the doctors do. I am very
Yeah.
comfortable doing that. I was with my mask and everything. I mean, So again, same question. If the whole world is vaccinated, and obviously, as everybody rightly agrees, this virus, there could be another virus. This is COVID. There could be anything else. Any virus. But the mindset is like,
A mindset. Yeah.
I want to see a doctor. I want the doctor to touch me. Sort of. Go over my vital statistics.
I'm not sure though, Sonny, with this COVID stuff. If I want to, yesterday my doctor shook my hand. It's the first time I got nervous in a doctor's office. I was thinking to myself, I wonder who he was touching before me, and there maybe weren't feeling good.
Okay.
I started. I put my hand out, and I was going to pull it back, and I said, "This is a guy that's going to do a little outpatient procedure on me. I better be nice to him." Oh well.
So now there are gadgets, Sunny. If you need to check your blood pressure, etc.,
I
they
don't
have.
trust those gadgets for some reason, Vandana. I don't want to go to a doctor. Okay, coming Dr. Shrikant. You're
He is a doctor. How are you feeling now,
We have got
Sonny?
one doctor on panel.
I'm in no way related to medicine, or do am I authorized to write prescriptions? I think I would double down on what Vandana said, and balance between what Gary and Vandana have a perspective on medtech as such. I'm very bullish because there are so many procedures that can be done. I mean, how are hospitals built? Hospitals are built in large campuses, and we have the doctors coming in, and they have their own hospitals. And education is just two things that have completely shifted after the pandemic, because you don't go to a university anymore. The university is more democratized. I can search for a Harvard professor. I mean, it used to exist before, just that we didn't know about it. There used to be something called OpenCourseWare, OCW, by MIT, where YouTube lectures were there of MIT professors on various topics, and we just did not know it. And after the pandemic, now we go to YouTube and we find every information that we need at a click of a button. Now, go to the same video streaming portal and search for surgical procedures, and you will find hardly 3 or 4 videos on a particular surgical procedure. So, I think that is something which is, from a mindset perspective, that has to change. I think I would see that the end goal of medtech has been reached, will reach only if I am able to sit in this particular room, go out to bed, I have a heart attack, and I need to be operated in the next 2 hours. My wife calls the doctor, and I get operated over here. Not, I'm not taking an ambulance. I'm taken to the hospital. So I think from that particular perspective, who gets to win? The patient gets to win, right? Who gets to lose? The person who has funded the large part of land for building the hospital, the facility, and the medical devices companies, the possibly the insurance companies, and three is possibly the other companies which have vested interest in that, right? So I think from a social distancing standpoint, doesn't it make sense to have procedures done at home? If you can have your hair curled at home, and if a big instrument of that, not curling of hair. I mean, let me refer to something better than that. I mean, let's say a tanning procedure which can happen at home, which requires a large device to be brought home, and so on and so forth. Why not a doctor at home, or why not a surgery at home?
That would be awesome. That would be great, only if I can trust. Thank you so much, Dr. Shrikant. Karthik, when I was in Dubai, I had to do a couple of PCR tests, right? So a friend of mine recommended, why don't you get those technicians to wherever you live, to the hotel or the place you are. Uh, First, the cost was almost triple. Like if I went to a clinic and take a PCR, and Dubai, all these hospitals or clinics were open, and there was not a big queue then when I was there. So I conveniently went, did my PCR test, maybe thrice, fourth. I mean, how many times I don't remember right now. I found it very convenient. But a friend of mine sort of had somebody coming in. But the difference was when I went to the hospital, they did my basic checks as well, like my blood pressure and all those checks. That gives me a peace of mind. But when the technician came home, all he did was he was busy because he had other patients to do the PCR test. He was so quick, and literally the test he did, I saw the difference between how I was treated versus how he was treated. So Karthik, do you think if the world goes back to normal this time next year, people are going to still be very conveniently talking to a doctor online, or they just are going to go walk in and just
So
do the test?
again, it's a cart before the horse or the horse before the cart analogy, and I would look at it in that manner. It's evolution of healthcare, and evolution of healthcare is continuous, whether it's pandemic or non-pandemic. Pandemics just hasten the entire evolution. Obviously, the systems are not prepared today to handle the kind of pressure that exists on the system when a country, let's say like Brazil, or for that matter even Mexico, conducts 190,000 to 200,000 tests per region on a daily basis. There's tremendous pressure on healthcare facilities, and that necessarily will determine the experiences. But going forward, I think as the evolution and the economies of scale start setting in, healthcare from telemedicine is the first step in this direction. It would move into telediagnostics, it would move into teleimaging, it would move into telesupport, and then finally it will move into robotic surgeries. Robotic surgeries are already getting piloted. I spoke to you. Only thing that is not being done is your intensive care surgeries, or your secondary and tertiary surgical care is not being taken care, because that requires a medical practitioner to be present. In terms of evolution, I think a lot of geographies have started even imaging, monitoring of lifestyle ailments, which means your sugar levels and your blood pressure levels can be monitored on a remote basis. Your imaging and radiation procedures are also being done on tele basis. So I think that's the way that the industry is going to move, because at some point the healthcare is becoming as expensive or prohibitively expensive because of the demand supply gap. So to fill this demand supply gap, innovation or through digital routes would necessarily make it cheaper, and it would make it accessible to different parts of the world. So we as a business are all about bottom of the pyramid. We do not believe at the top of the pyramid. We don't live on the top of the pyramid. We believe in bottom of the pyramid. So we are a $1.5 $2 businesses. We have a very strong and a bullish view on a category like this, and we're very convinced that this is the way to go.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vandana. I think Dr. Shrikant, Gary, Karthik, everybody just, sort of summarized it very nicely. This is the future. So talking about investments, where are you looking to invest in the next coming years? If it's a health tech startup, where exactly, Karthik?
Telemedicine, and one that I wouldn't say we are doing it, but what we have done is an extension of that, is getting x-rays and certain primary care imaging technique being built in certain geographies to monitor certain. For example, I don't need a radiologist in certain geographies, so we're working on that. We are working on diagnostics, and we are working on primary support for lifestyle ailments on an online basis. If that works, we would be active in that space. But at the moment, we are not. We've got only one telemedicine startup that has worked well for us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think telemedicine startups boomed, sort of.
Low cost, high resource, human and skill based startups. Technology is democratized in this case, so you don't need to create something new.
Yeah.
You can use a technology, and it's about how strong your aggregator network is. And if you try and layer it, the challenge is, I see a lot of startups that try and do everything in this space. You bring a doctor, you bring a patient, then you bring a pharmacy, then you try and bring a insurance on top of it, then you bring a surgical procedure on top of it. The industry has not reached a level of maturity. First, start by bringing in a doctor and a patient together. Let them
Yeah.
evolve for at least a couple of years. Let that connect, and let the patient and the doctor get used to each other. Once they are used to each other in this mode of engagement, then complicate it by adding layers. When you try and complicate it right from day one, you will have a beautiful fancy 5-star hotel with no guests in it, and that's what's happening to a few startups in this part of the world.
I totally agree. I totally
I
agree.
love
Yeah.
that. A 5-star hotel with no guests.
I mean, Gary, I see a lot of people trying to
I
do
love
that.
that too. A five-star hotel with no guests. Oh my God, that's gonna be a disaster. Gary, so were you putting your money?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested in this whole idea of artificial intelligence and intelligent assistants for healthcare. I'm interested in collaborative tools that need to happen. I'm interested in all kinds of technologies that will help for the advocacy that I discussed earlier. I'm interested in this new area. We've got a lot of data. Part of the challenge that doctors have today is that they're inundated with data. They're in this state of infobesity. And so tools that'll come out that help them to be able to make better decisions and also help make those decisions for them. So they're more based on the data rather than opinion.
Right.
So I'm
So
interested in
Gary,
those areas.
Gary, very clearly, technology, right?
Well, technology is really important because we're inundated with data, and it's about the data. The doctors don't understand what's going on around them because there's so much data, and they have so many patients. I mean, how
Right.
can you imagine going in if you're in doctor in a hospital, going to a room and you get a clipboard and it said, and there's 3 pages, and you're trying to read what's going on, but you're not intimately familiar with this patient. Imagine having an intelligent assistant that can go around with you. You come into the patient's office, scan a QR code, and it starts to brief you and starts to talk about, what some of the complications could be and helps you make that decision better.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Dr. Shrikant, coming over to you.
So let's take a calculation over here, right? A senior doctor typically earns about $30,000 a month. Let's assume that he or she works for 30 days a month. So that basically boils down to $1,000 per day, right? And in a day, let's assume that she works for 10 hours. That basically means that she is earning $100 an hour, right? Telemedicine, on the other hand, is going to cost you $1 an hour. Uh, to get that particular doctor. So we are talking about 1/100th of the cost, right? I would put my money in something which would give me more value for the dollar, exact dollar. It is a real dollar, right? For $1 that I'm putting to a doctor, I would have to get surgical procedure. I would get the entire comfort of sitting at home, surgical procedure done, everything being done. If I'm paying a premium, even if I pay a premium, not $1 per consultation, even if I'm paying say $20, which is 1/5 of what I would pay to a physical infrastructure. Um, uh, if I'm paying $20, I should be they should be able to come with the surgical equipment and so on and so forth. So I'll put my money on something which has got the propensity to do that, and I would wait for a heart attack to happen so that somebody could operate on me at in these 4 walls that I have.
Yeah, this one, I just remember something. Back in the days, we had two options: home birth or going to hospital for a delivery. Even though the option ones, many women would opt for that, I never sort of believed in that. Similarly, I would go to a hospital for anything. That's just me. Vandana, over to you.
So, in terms of investments, I would look at stem cells deals. Those pills that help diagnose the problem faster, e-pharmacies, telemedicines, AI, anything that helps to solve a larger problem. Like, many patients suffer when they do chemotherapy. And there is a technology that could help them suffer less and cure faster, and lifestyle diseases like diabetes, tuberculosis, there are a lot of problems that could be solved. And I really like this company that is doing a lot for elderly care. They need a lot of care, and at some point we'll also need this kind of a thing eventually when we get old as well. And of course that mental satisfaction is there when we go to hospitals and to doctors, because we have still not reached that heavy technological stage where we can really rely on technology for everything. So I agree with you. So it's a 50-50 thing, actually. It's not a 100% thing yet as well, but we'll see as time comes what goes where. Eventually, changes keep happening all the time. So I think that's where I'm looking to work.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's funny. I want to say something. I actually co-founded a company that is a remote elderly care company. She's actually an Indian. She came from India. She's a Stanford MBA. I co-founded it based on my father's experience. It's one of the top 7 companies in the U.S. In terms of that environment for remote patient monitoring for elderly. So, I mean, it happened based on my own experience. It's her experience with her dad in India. So we put a company together that exists. So I mean, it's I did it because of necessity, but I think more and more this is just one little tiny crumb of what needs to happen.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Gary. I think that's that area, that space. I think I totally agree, Vandana and Gary. Elderly care expenses are quite high in US. I think in India we do not have elderly care as much. I guess I do not know. I think Vandana, am I right?
Yeah, now things are changing. Now people are taking more care towards it. But initially, people would, rely on more old age homes and other stuff, etc. Now it's changing. Yeah.
Dr. Shrikant and Dr. Karthik, not Dr.
It
Karthik, Karthik.
depends on it depends on what you call elderly, right? I mean, I disagree. If somebody is 45 plus, it is elderly according to the youngster. So I think elderly care is more towards a categorization of that particular bucket. So Vandana, you may want to refocus elder care as such, because the
Who is
45-year
elderly
old.
here?
Hey,
Dr. Shrikant, I'm 45. Do I look like an?
Shrikant, I remember when I
Vandana
was
is
a kid.
elderly here.
Yeah. When I was about 10, I used to think at 30 was elderly.
Dr.
The older
Shrikant,
you
I'm
get,
45. I mean, do I look like an old person here?
You are elderly for Dr. Shrikant.
I would rather dignify the ladies on the panel and call them 16 still.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
So
Karthik. You raised hand.
I look at this a little differently. While I agree with Vandana and Gary on the old age care being a key driver, but then necessarily every industry demands and grows based on the fundamental decision of make versus buy. What is easy to replicate? Elderly care still can be easy to replicate, considering the cost of care is not going to be difficult. But when you look at advanced surgical procedures, advanced treatments, and diagnosis for ailments going all the way from Crohn's disease to liver immunosuppressant reactions to breast cancer to any of your malignant tumors, where cost of even diagnostics is extremely expensive,
Yeah.
is the way where telemedicine and cyber healthcare will go, because replicating that in your country is going to be extremely expensive. You'd rather use somebody's idle capacity. It's capacity utilization equation. Somebody's got idle inventory, you use that inventory at a lower cost and improve your efficiency, while the cost of doing the same in your country, if it's cheaper, you might as well do it. So I would say that the faster growth would come in from expensive treatments which people cannot afford at the moment.
Awesome, great. Karthik, are you open to advising startups?
As yeah, I mean,
So what
depends
can
on
they
the
find you?
time.
Very quickly.
Depend,
Where,
they can
where can
find
they
me on
find you?
LinkedIn. They can find me on LinkedIn. They can find me on wherever they want to. They can find me through you.
Oh, yes. So Karthik is open for advising startups in the space. They can find Karthik but on VCTV. Thank you. Gary,
yeah,
My
yeah.
sometimes gets my some name sometimes gets spelled very wrongly and understood very wrongly. It's BHATT.
what did I say? Did I say something else?
Let it pass. Let it pass.
So Gary, be careful.
Well, yeah. So yeah, this is a great time. This is the digital transformations upon us. We understand now. I'm very happy that we've adopted some of these new technologies and procedures to be able to make our lives easier and better. People can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn or Twitter, or check out my shows. I'll be happy to talk to startups from around the world, because we believe that intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities aren't.
Thank you, Gary. Fantastic. Dr. Shrikant, are you open for advising startups? And if yes, where can they find you?
Absolutely. I'm open to advise startups, irrespective of whether they agree with me on the age of 45 being elderly or not. they can find me through you. And of course, LinkedIn is a great platform to connect as well. And I'm always interested in medicine, so medicine always interests me. And if you take a screenshot of what I have as books behind me, you will find Drugs and Cosmetics Act, one of the biggest books which is lying over there. So medicine always interests me. So feel free to reach out through LATOKEN, and VCTV, and through Sunny.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm always there. Okay, Vandana, we know how to reach you. Would you like to add something before we wrap up?
So, yeah, so most of the health problems that we get are because of our mind. I would recommend all of you to read the book Power of the Subconscious Mind. A healthy mind gives a healthy body automatically. And do your exercises well in the morning, eat good, healthy food, sleep well. Keep a healthy mind that will keep you healthy all throughout. At 60, 70, also, you look young if you do these small things. And I think going in for natural medicine will also help a lot. Ayurveda has helped a lot of people in India, and I think we should recommend natural medicines also over here. And I could be reached out on LinkedIn and my website www.convanto.com. And feel free for all the health tech companies to reach out to me. I'm happy to assist you.
Sorry, Vandana, I was not actually. Karthik just wrote clarifying his surname, how is spelled sometimes, so but.
No worries, no worries.
So Karthik, don't worry, it's but.
Yeah. So, quick disclaimer, considering I have certain interest in healthcare, medicine is a choice and subject matter of one's own discretion, and any medical practice that people do, they should follow their medical practitioner's advice and not self-medicate. I'm necessarily supposed to have a disclaimer at end of all my involvements, please.
Totally agree. I don't Google. Sorry, that's just me. I don't Google. Thank you so much, Dr. Shrikant, Gary, Vandana, Karthik, for making this panel of mine very, very informative, fun, engaging, smiling. As Gary always says, keep smiling. Thank you so much. I'll be back again. I'm back tomorrow. No, I'm back next week on another episode of VCTV. Till then, all of you keep smiling. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.